Okay, we'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. Roll call, please. Clerk? Aye.
Kamer?
Aye.
Connor?
Aye.
Baylor?
Aye.
Mosley?
Aye.
All committee present.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the previously held meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. We have, I believe, 3 items that's up for public hearing today. And the procedures are receive a report from the planning department in reference to the public hearings. After that, we'll ask the law department to swear in those individuals before the committee. After that, we'll then open up the public hearing and request comments, either in favor or against, or if there's just simply questions. And then we'll close the hearing. After that, we'll then ask for questions or comments from any committee members and then council members all together. We'll repeat that process this evening at 7 o'clock. You're all invited back. We appreciate you coming down. We appreciate your input. And thank you for coming. But the only difference between 1 o'clock and the 7 o'clock meeting is that the committee this evening will make a recommendation to all of council, either in favor, against, or to table an item and take time. So those are the procedures. So with that, the first item that's up for a public hearing today is ordinance designating an area north of Merriman Road and west of Akron Peninsula Road as the Merriman Valley Community Entertainment District pursuant to section 103 of the Code of Ordinances. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. LAL & Sons LLC has applied for Community Entertainment District, CED, designation for over 24 acres property within a 9 geographical boundary comprising their Merriman Valley Liberty Commons development. Community Entertainment designation for Merriman Valley would create a pool of 15 new D5J liquor licenses for food serving establishments with area, which is the maximum number allowed. A D5J license must be located within the CED and cannot be transferred out of the district. They're applied for in the same way as any D5 license. All other regulations would apply, including distinct requirements, container laws, and this designation doesn't allow open containers. It's not a DORA. Objections from churches, schools, and outdoor patio requirements would apply. The city currently has 3 CEDs, including downtown, north side and south side downtown, and the East End district. LAL & Sons LLC are in the process of making renovations to their Liberty Commons property. This CED designation will go a long way to help support and attract new establishments to serve the residents and workers of this and surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. Mr. Volman, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted, well, I was originally going to say what he said just to make it clear. This is not, we're not looking for another DORA at this point.
Right.
It won't be people walking up and down the valley with DORA cups. This is to try to, you know, put some revitalization into Liberty Commons and the surrounding areas. I think that you mentioned the other ones we've done, such establishments as Blue Jazz, Jilly's Music Room, Boiling House, most recently Perfect Pour, were all ones that were able to get liquor licenses through this program or this type of designation, and they've all been, you know, great additions to the community. So he said everything else. So thank you,
Mr. Antonucci. Thank you, Mr. Volman. At this point, I'm going to ask a representative of our law department to please swear in those individuals that wish to speak before the committee this afternoon.
Those wishing to speak, please raise your right hand.
We do have a few people via Zoom, so if you're here for this public hearing, can you please turn on your camera and unmute yourself so that you can be sworn in?
Okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open it up to anyone within chambers that wish to make comments in reference to the designating the area north of Merriman and west of Akron Peninsula as a Merriman Valley Community Entertainment District. If you could please provide for the committee your name and address, we appreciate it, and thank you for coming forward and being here with us this afternoon.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm
Mic on? You might want to...
Is it the mic not on?
Oh,
Is that better?
Yes.
Oops.
Yeah,
You got
good.
it. We'll hold it. Okay. My entertainment skills are not so great. So I'm Sanjeev Lal. I'm Sanjeev Lal of Lal & Sons. I'm actually the proprietor. I live on 1010 Merriman, Akron, in Akron. We're local residents of Ward 8. And so we have been in Ward 8 in Cuyahoga Falls. We moved down to Ward 8 in Akron after we bought Liberty Commons to help become more affiliated with the preservation of the valley, and residents who live in Merriman Valley to not only go for entertainment, but go for their families. We think this is a great opportunity for us to help the city and match with the city's alignments in regards to its growth, and also a place that's walking distance for the individuals that live in Ward 8 on both sides. And so we look forward to, getting this, as well as supporting what the city wants to see down in Liberty Commons. So that's all I had.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is
I'll
there
take any
anyone else
questions.
wishing to speak in favor of this proposal?
My name is David Glenny. Many of you know me as the founder of Brico, which I operated for 15 years in downtown Akron. Sold a little over, almost 4 years ago now. Took a little time to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and I've decided I want to go back in the restaurant business. And I had the fortunate meeting Mandy and Sanjeev, and they have we've been working together on me opening a new establishment in Liberty Commons. So obviously with the CED, I'm sure the council's concern is what kind of tenants are they going to attract. So I came to show the support of the kind of people that they're going after. I hope my reputation speaks for itself. And, I'm looking to do a high-end, dinner only, very small, very intimate space down there. They, know of my reputation and what I can bring to it, and hope to use me to attract the same type of tenant for the project. So I just thought I would be here to support them and share that vision, and hopefully get back into things here soon. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down this afternoon. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposal in the Valley at the Merriman Valley Community Entertainment District? Anyone else? Anyone? Okay, very good. We'll now move over to the screen over here. Is there anyone online that wish to speak before the committee?
We have
Michael? Michael Meeker? Is that right? Maybe muted. Michael Meeker, we're ready.
Michael Meeker, you're muted. Can you try again? Did you have comments that you wanted to provide?
We could perhaps come back. Anyone else wishing to make comments in reference to the the ordinance designating the Merriman Valley Community Entertainment District? Anyone else who's online wish to make comment? Anyone?
We had quite a few sign up, and I can see that they've joined.
Yes. Maybe they can't hear us. I'm not certain.
Okay. Do you want me to go through the list of those that signed up?
Yeah, I have it, I believe, the same list.
Okay.
There's a Scott Simon. Is Scott here? Scott Simon? Would you like to make comment? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, by all means.
Thank you for, I did not sign up. I was just here to ready questions.
Okay,
I'm the attorney in Columbus to help put together this CED.
Okay.
I missed part of the first comment when you were reading, or someone was reading about the Merriman Valley CED. One thing I wanted to clarify, because of the acreage, this only creates 4 D5J permits. So unlike your other 3 community entertainment districts in Akron, Ohio, you can have up to 15 D5Js based on the amount of acreage that's designated here. It's only just over 24 acres. So the maximum number of D5Js that can be created is 4. So the idea is just to help attract some restaurants like David Delaney that's coming into the Liberty Commons development. So I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't know if someone said it created 15 D5Js. It doesn't. So anyway, that's why I just wanted to clarify that. I have no further comments. And again, I appreciate this opportunity, and the city of Akron has just been gracious, wonderful. I'll say that. Sean Bowman's been very exceptional. So everyone in the city of Akron. So I appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Everyone here in Akron is wonderful, so just FYI, if you ever... Okay, the next person in line we have here is Melanie Pepe. Hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, hello. I'm just here to listen today. I'm here from Weathervane's Lighthouse. More restaurants sound like a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. Aaron Tripp.
And Sean is awesome.
Kinda. The Aaron Tripp. Is Aaron Tripp?
Yes. So I serve on my name is Aaron Tripp, 865 Sunnyside Avenue, Akron, Ohio. Serve on the board of the Merriman Valley Neighborhood Association with Karen Zampelli and Melanie, who we just heard from as well. I agree with Melanie. More restaurants, more businesses in our valley. It's definitely what we're all looking for. And so part of the Merriman Valley Neighborhood Association, our mission is to drive business and try to create growth opportunities. So having this community entertainment district is a huge part of that. And so I know that there's so many people that have been working on this. I'm kind of just stepping in at this point to support this effort. So don't want to speak out of turn if I'm not aware of things, but definitely support this effort. So.
Thank you so much for your comments. Certainly appreciate them. Thank you. Is Michael Meeker, are you here for this one? We're still having a problem hearing you. Can you hear us? Okay. All right. Is there any here online that wish to speak to the public hearing portion of the Merriman Valley Community Entertainment District? Anyone else? Anyone in the crowd wish to have any comments, make any comments? Okay, very good. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion and we'll open up to the committee members of City Council. Is there any questions or comments from anyone from the committee? Any committee members? Okay, I'm not seeing any committee members at this moment. Mr. Malik, I know you're the ward council person. Do you want me to go? Okay, well, I was just recognizing your, Nancy Holland had your hand up. You can go first. You're the ward.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I believe legal counsel for this proposed CED partially addressed one of my questions, and that was as to how many new liquor licenses would be created. I think it's helpful to the public to understand what the formula is, so I appreciate his comments. I guess what I'd like to ask, and I'm not sure if this is for Mr. Volman or for the petitioners, is whether there are other features beyond the increase or leverage of liquor license availability that comes with a CED. This for the benefit of members of the public who are watching or who may have questions later about what it means to have a CED.
Mr. Volman?
Yeah, I may actually defer to Mr. Simon on this one because he is, this is his bailiwick, but I don't know of any other, tangible things that come along with being in the community entertainment district. And the formula is, it's one, you can do one for every 5 acres up to 15 total. So if it was a 75 acre or bigger parcel, it would be tapped out at 15. So.
Is that, Mr. Simon? Mr. Simon?
I'm just going to add to Councilwoman Holland that that's correct. So 1D5J permit can be issued for every 5 acres of land designated as part of this quote-unquote community entertainment district. It was created by the legislature probably 15, 20 years ago. I know Akron already has 3 CEDs. For example, the Northside Downtown Community Entertainment District in Akron can issue up, the state can issue up to 15 D5Js. There's only currently 6 D5Js issued in that particular CED. In this one, again, the limitation, the maximum is 4. So it's not that many. It's not like a proliferation of permits that we're trying here. So I don't know if that helps answer your question. I hope I did, but I'd be more than happy to talk to you afterwards if need be. So I thank this opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Malik, the ward council person.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank the petitioners. This has been kind of long going through the process. And, you know, for those who don't know, the Walls purchased Liberty Commons, I think it was about a year ago, and have put significant investments in the property. If you drive down Merriman, you'll see a big new sign. And there's a lot of plans that are underfoot, and one of them is this potential new restaurant. And so part of making this easier, making this redevelopment easier, is putting forward this community entertainment district. And I particularly want to thank Mr. Volman, who I'll be the third person to say awesome, but also Ms. Wilms and others from the mayor's office and OID helped with this. And one of the things that I think we discussed within this was how to make sure that this was narrowly drawn in order to make don't cause any significant issues. You know, over the years there have been problem bars in the valley, and while those have not been significant issues in the last several years, certainly we don't want to create any problem, create a problem by trying to solve a different one, right? And so, you know, if anyone looks at the map, there's really only 4 properties that are covered by this. There's Liberty Commons, there's the Cedarwood office buildings that are vacant, there's the bike shop. I don't think the bike shop's gonna start serving alcohol. And then there's Parkwood Plaza where Second Soul and some of the other places are. And then there's also the building there on the corner that, you know, has office space and the gym. And so I think, you know, this is pretty narrowly drawn, that it's not going to allow for someone to go into a vacant green space, say across the street, and create, you know, a new bar. I think the other point I want to make is we spent several years now working through the Merriman Valley master planning process. And one of the questions that I've received from folks is this consistent with the Merriman Valley master plan? And in my view, it's entirely consistent. You know, one of the big things that we heard is people want to see redevelopment of the space that's there, and this is exactly what the Laws and Mr. Glennie are willing to do. And so I think we have a real opportunity here. I think it's thoughtful and reasonable, and I just want to stand here in support of it.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments at this time? Linda Mobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question, I think part of it has been answered by the other council members. When you create these districts, what is the obligation of the city? Do we have any type of obligation financially or otherwise to help with this?
It adds no obligation to the city of Akron.
None whatsoever?
None whatsoever.
So we don't do anything in terms of tips or anything?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything. What did you say?
Anything like tip? We don't do any tips or anything?
Tips? I'm not. Oh, TIF. No, this is not. No, this would not be a TIF situation. Okay. This is just really to create these liquor licenses. So I mean, you know, there's no additional taxing of resources of the city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, hearing none, we're going to invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock. Those of you online, as well as those of you here in the crowd, at 7 o'clock, we'll invite you back. And after the public hearing this evening, we will make a recommendation. I also see Mr. Neal's hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question kind of piggybacks on Mr. Mobian's. In regards to when we create these entertainment districts, is there a stipulation or requirement as far as security being provided? Do we require that they pay for APD in those areas? Or is there a requirement for their private security when these are created?
I believe Gert Wilms, Chief of Staff, would like to answer.
Yeah, we had very meaningful conversations with the new property owners, the potential property owners, as to what was going to go in. I think they understand our security concerns and are willing to have the conversations with us to make sure that neighborhood remains very safe, enjoyable, family-friendly for everyone.
Very good, thank you. I understand the petitioner would like to make comment. Mr. Yes, absolutely, please. Mr. Wall, right?
So just a quick pivot to that, to the councilman's question. The CD allows us to get other businesses that don't conform out. So it gives us an opportunity to look at the master plan that the city has, as well as what we plan, and we've been sharing that with Shamus as much as we can in regards to what we want to bring. So the conformity and the type of clientele that we want and the type of businesses that we want. The CED does allow us to help bring those in, but also allow us to give an opportunity for those who don't want to conform to go out.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, very good. All right, Mr. Neal, very good. We will.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just one more thing. I appreciate what was shared. I know we have some historical context when we withdrawal with Downtown Akron Partnership when we created those, but that being downtown, we already have, City of Akron Police down there. And this is just to protect everybody's investment. I mean, these are definitely needed for everyone's enjoyment. But as has been mentioned, we want to be forward thinking because if no one is responsible for extra security, it can be no one's problem, no one's fault, but everyone's problem if we don't have that in place. So just those that are there may want to think about how to collaborate and share that cost, just to be proactive. That's all. But that's congratulations. I know people are looking for more healthy engagement. Just want to make sure that we protect it.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Mr. Malik?
And I do just want to note that, even in the first conversation I had with Ms. Law, safety was an issue that they raised, right? And so we've connected the property owners with APD. There have been a number of conversations about that. And so absolutely appreciate the point from Mr. Neal.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Again, we'll invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock. We'll have the second public hearing, and we'll make a recommendation at that time. Thank you so much for coming down. Thank you for zooming in. Appreciate everyone's comments. We'll now move on to item number 2, which is authorizing conditional use to retain a 2-unit dwelling at 69 Oakdale Avenue. Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Michael and Julie White are requesting permission to establish the property as a 3-family dwelling. The zoning certification letter was dated October 16th, 1986, stated that the dwelling was a legal non-conforming 2-family dwelling. The zoning office received a complaint that the property had been vacant for a few years and that the new owner was converting the house into a 3-unit dwelling. A check of utility records confirmed that the water had been turned off for a period over 2 years. As such, since the property had been vacant for 2 years, the zoning code stipulates it must conform to current single-family classification. The petitioner's statement describes a 3-story dwelling as having 3 separate apartments with 2 separate entrances for each unit, front and back, on the 1st and 2nd floors. Each unit also has separate utilities, furnaces, and hot water tanks, After an inspection by the Housing Department, they are currently working on plans for a required egress exit for a third floor. Well, there is sufficient parking area in the rear yard of the house. The planning staff recognizes that the petitioners have significantly improved the interior and exterior of the dwelling. Nonetheless, a third unit was never legal and added without receiving city council permission. The petitioners have stated that significant structural changes would be necessary to convert the house back to a single-family dwelling. However, since the dwelling was a long-standing two-family use prior to its vacancy a few years ago, the planning staff believes that there should be no significant hardship to reestablish the prior two-family use. One goal of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to preserve and protect single-family neighborhoods, and the recently added third unit constitutes an overdevelopment and is not compatible with the Land Use and Development Guide Plan. Reestablishing the two-family use will be consistent with the prior use and harmonious with other structures in the West Hill neighborhood. As such, the planning staff supports the reestablishment of 69 Oakdale Avenue to a two-family use. Planning staff and Planning Commission recommend disapproval to establish a three-unit apartment house, but approval to establish a two-unit dwelling subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative from our law department, if you'd like to swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee, please stand.
Those wishing to speak, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. We'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request at 69 Oakdale Avenue. If you could please provide for us your name and address, we appreciate it. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael White. My address is 336 South Rose Boulevard in Akron. I am the owner and landlord of 69 Oakdale. I purchased the property in 2021. When I purchased it, it was a very blighted property. It was in incredible disrepair. I fixed up the property. It's a very large property. It's about 2,200 square feet. It has the capacity for multiple families, and so I'm requesting from council the approval, zoning approval for the 3-unit. However, I will concede to 2 units if that's what I have to do. It is large enough, though, the parking supports it, and I don't feel it would be a blight on the neighborhood or negatively impact the neighborhood at all. I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for coming down. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this conditional use? Anyone else? Anyone wishing to speak against this conditional use? Anyone wishing to speak against? No one signed up remotely. I don't see anyone. Okay, very good. We'll close the public hearing portion and open up to questions from the committee at this time. Any committee members have any questions? Any council members have any questions in reference to this? Nancy Holland, the ward council person.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. White, for being here today. This is an interesting story and a success story, and I feel that it's an important moment to sort of make a record for the many interested neighbors in the West Hill portion of Ward 1. West Hill is one of the oldest parts of the city of Akron, and less than 50 feet away from the 69 Oakdale location is the Hall neighborhood that was designated part of the National Registry of Historic Places some years ago. This is a neighborhood of beautiful, gracious, historic properties, and we get here today because our system, as most of us are aware, is a complaint-driven system, and an Oakdale neighbor reported concerns upon observing changes happening to the 69 Oakdale property. Now let's get into the good news. The improvements that have been made by Mr. White are truly remarkable. The building has been made beautiful. It's appealing from the curb. I am informed that inspection of the interior reveals the very same TLC. I think it is important that we acknowledge that the provenance of the ordinance that allows a conditional use converting a single family to a multifamily but allows for the reconversion or reversion back to single family after a period of vacancy, is a particularly important value or principle in West Hill, that there was a time in the not so distant past where some of these beautiful homes were rather haphazardly and under the radar, split up into multi-units, and without particular regard to the harmony of the neighborhood, the concerns of the neighbors, and the safety of the occupants. This is not that kind of story. This property is beautiful. I am pleased that Mr. White is the kind of responsible renovator and landlord who understands the safety concerns about pressing this into a 3-unit. I think that this is a good outcome. We can always use more affordable housing, particularly in this Ward 1 location. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? Okay, very good. We'll invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock. Thanks for coming down. We certainly appreciate it and your investment in our community. The next item is item number 3, which is, I don't know, it's the ordinance authorizing an amendment to the 2021 Consolidated Annual Action Plan to include Home American Rescue Plan, Home-ARP funding for an eligible activity, and authorizing the Director of Planning and Urban Development to enter into all necessary agreements for the operation and term of the programs. Helen Tomick.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. The City of Akron's 2021 Consolidated Action Plan prioritized Department of Housing and Urban Development spending, including community development block grants, home investment partnership funding, and emergency solutions grant programming. The 2021 plan represents the second year of a 5-year consolidated plan from 2020 to 2024. The 5-year strategy identifies the city needs for affordable housing, community development, and homeless assistance. The goals of the consolidated plan are to assist primarily low and moderate income persons, to improve existing housing, develop affordable housing, expand economic opportunities, and aid the homeless. The 2021 Consolidated Action Plan was passed by City Council on May 2021. The American Rescue Plan of 2021 designated additional funding to cities specifically intending to provide housing, shelter, supportive services to persons experiencing or at risk of homelessness, fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or human trafficking, and other vulnerable populations at greatest risk of housing instability. The City of Akron will receive approximately $5.3 million of home ARPA funds for this purpose. In order to receive these funds, the City of Akron must amend the 2021 Consolidated Plan. The 2021 amendment recommends the following initiatives: construction and/or rehabilitation of affordable housing or creation of permanent supportive rental housing for occupancy by households or of individuals and families that meet the qualifications of the program; tenant-based rental assistance, providing scattered site rental assistance to residents that are in need of rental assistance and housing; the right to counsel. This would assist tenants facing eviction with free legal counsel as they appear before housing court. The application is due to HUD on March 31st, 2023, and we request passage of this. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Helen Tomick. We're going to ask now if there's anyone that wishes to testify before the committee, if they could please be sworn in by a representative of our law department. Also online.
Those wishing to speak, please raise your right hand and take yourself off mute if you're on Zoom. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing portion and ask if there's anyone that would like to speak in favor of this proposal. Please feel free to step forward and introduce yourself and give us your address. Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, or if you have any questions or comments whatsoever. Anyone here wishing to make comments? Reference item number 3, the additional funding for the Home American Rescue Plan Home ARP allocation. Anyone wishing to make any comments? Please step forward. Anybody? Okay. Anyone online wishing to make comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, by all means. Rochelle Sibio. Yes.
Sure. I'm Rochelle Sibio. I'm the President and CEO of Habitat for Humanity in Summit County. So Chairman Fusco and members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak today. Habitat for Humanity, of course, has been a long-standing partner with the City of Akron, utilizing home dollars to build affordable units here in the City of Akron. With the addition of the home ARPA dollars, Habitat for Humanity of Ohio, as a statewide organization, has been the recent recipient of Governor DeWine signed legislation under House Bill 46 for $25 million of ARPA funds. Those funds will be distributed throughout the state of Ohio, including right here for the Summit County Habitat affiliate, somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million of that money will come to us over the next several years to rehab homes. We are very much in favor of making this amendment to the consolidated plan, as we would like to continue to work with the city and overlay some of those awarded funds, as well as funds coming to the City of Akron. We're currently working with the city with Sean Volman, who I'll agree with the earlier comments, has been great to work with, and Helen Tomic is always great to work with on some development projects, approximately a 16-home development in the North Hill area that we have been engaging in some conversations about making happen. So again, as a utilizer of funds to build affordable homes and provide homeownership opportunities to low to moderate income residents, Habitat for Humanity is in favor of making this amendment to the consolidated plan. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to make any comments in reference to this, the consolidated plan? Okay. Close the public hearing portion and open questions or comments from any committee members. Any committee members? Tara Mosley.
Thank you. Quick question, Helen. This amendment, the amendment is to cover just these 3 components, correct?
Looking at developing more more affordable housing, more rental assistance, and the right to counsel.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee members? Just a quick comment from myself in that I know in Somerville, my staff has met with Gert Wilms, Chief of Staff, and others from the administration in reference to the one piece that I think is extremely important and new here with this, and that is the piece referenced the tenant-based rental assistance, and really happy to see that located in here. It's something that we as a city are stepping up and prepared to commit funds to. This has been talked about for some time, since it's been shown on the tenants and landlords and the whole situation with regards to the rental crisis, if you will, for lack of a better term, that has hit Akron perhaps harder than other areas. And so a good step, a positive step in terms of helping those individuals that need help, and it's evening the playing field, leveling the playing field, I should say, which is important. And we appreciate all the effort that was put in to putting this together, as well as the other commitments that are located within the proposed budget. I see Linda Mobian, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm curious, these $5 million, are these in addition to our $145 million, or this has nothing to do with that, is that correct?
This is part of the American Rescue Plans, but these funds are governed by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, not through Treasury. So it's a separate pot of money.
Okay, very good. Let me ask you this. As we talk about rental assistance, would these dollars be available to those individuals that are facing the crisis that we continue to have?
They would be. They would be, yes.
Excuse me?
Yes, they would be.
They would not.
They would.
They would. So do we have a way of including them in our plan to address some of the issues that we're facing?
So once this document is passed and approved by HUD, we will be issuing a request for proposals for the utilization and the expenditure of these funds.
Well, I don't quite understand that, but could I ask this? Could you or whomever is involved in this bring a plan to council to show us how we plan to include those individuals that are being evicted into this proposal?
When we issue the RFP, the request for proposals, we can share that with council.
Okay, because I really want to make sure that we are addressing this. Also, as we look at our rehab plan, I know we're spending up to $25,000 per person from the, is it 25 or 20 million that's set aside, Mr. Bowman?
ARPA fund.
It's 20 million.
20 million, okay. So the homes that we are not able to include in that, will we continue to try to address that list under the rehab part of this plan?
Mr. Volman?
Yes, I would, based on the need that we have seen and what we're addressing with the Akron Home Repair Program, I think this is a program that we would ideally keep moving forward and keep doing after the ARPA money is no longer available. So it is something we would look to continuing. But you know, right now we have the amount that we have, and we're going to try to fix up as many homes as we can in the next 3.5 years.
I will add the criteria is different. The Treasury money and the $20 million is we're focusing on home ownership. These dollars we're looking for the development of affordable rental housing. So they're looking at two different populations, two different ownerships.
Legislation. Yeah, and perhaps we could have a conversation, reference that piece of it. But any more questions, reference the legislation, Mr. Mobian?
Oh, no, I don't have any more questions. I'll just get with Mrs. Tomek to fully understand what's being said, because I want to make sure that, because you're talking about rehabbing homes, so I'm assuming they're owned by somebody, and I don't know who those individuals would be. But if there's a way for us to figure out how to do this, but I want to understand the proposal better so I can fully understand what we're doing.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
Thank you. Nancy Holland?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at the proposed budget, and I do understand that this is still developmental in nature, but I'm interested in understanding, if somebody can answer this, how the cost of the Right to Counsel program was developed. What is envisioned here? A short-term program? Would this be something that the city law department would have some role with? I imagine not, for reasons. But can somebody respond to how we reach $750,000 as the projected expense?
Yes, Kurt Wilms?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Fusco. This is a years-long budget, so we have an opportunity to use this over some time. We have not rolled out this actually being a City of Akron employee. I have a call out to the Supreme Court, the discipline, to make sure there's not an ethical violation. So I'm not going to misrepresent. We have multiple opportunities, hire individual attorneys. I did have conversations with Andrea Whitaker at the Public Defender's Office. Denver had actually partnered with their Public Defender's Office. Andrea loves the idea, fully supports the idea, but is drowning in staffing issues. So she has made it clear, definitely supportive, but at this point can't take that on. Legal Aid has given us a quote at a little over $1 million, so we might not be able to meet that, and that was a year. So that might be an issue. I have not ruled out at all this being an internal position. What we have seen through statistics is once individuals are given this right, there is a really big influence on the number of evictions filed and the outcome of those evictions. So just having somebody there representing individuals, we think that has a pretty good shot changing the statistics and the filings we see just alone at the Akron Municipal Court. I do have a meeting on the books, I believe a week or two, with the law school. The law school is very interested in having an internship program. I've not had an opportunity to talk to Professor Joanne Saul yet, but the dean was very interested and at least willing to have the conversations to see where they might fit in this equation as well. It is in its infancy. We are having these conversations from the beginning. I can't thank the county and the United Way enough for what they did with CARES Act dollars. They were in this space as COVID came, was at its height, making sure people had rental assistance, mortgage assistance, and utility assistance. So kind of taking a page off of work that's already been done, other communities and what they have done, and see where maybe we can add to that and really provide the services for individuals who currently are not represented.
Fantastic. Thank you for that comprehensive response. You know, I think that time and again, it's easy for us as a community to lose sight of one very key thing. We are a compassionate community, and we want to fix and address these deep needs. These deep needs cost a lot of money. I so appreciate all of your diligence in, sussing out exactly what's available out there. This is, answer to many community members' prayers. This has been something on a lot of, civil rights lawyers' radar for many, many years. And so, from the bottom of my heart, my appreciation. I just have one more question, and I think it's possibly already baked into your response. So we all know that ARPA funds must be expended no later than 2026. And if I'm following this, this funding is something of a pass-through funding through HUD. Similarly, would this require expenditure, on or before 2026? Is that the same sort of thing?
So unlike the traditional ARPA funds, the HUD ARPA dollars do not need to be spent until 2030. So we have 7 years to really think this through, formulate processes, RFPs, and look very carefully at how we're going to utilize these very limited resources.
Super. And again, I recognize that this is still very much developmental, but I just so appreciate the work that's gone in and look forward to seeing what we get. Thank you so much.
Okay. No, and again, like I said, all the discussion that's been had throughout our community, there's been a lot of it. And this is the result of that. It's just unfortunate that it takes so long to get to a place like this, where we're at, and it's going to take time to put it together so it's meaningful. I think we all had our eyes opened with regards to the reports that have been out there in the community and the struggles that some folks out there have in reference to the rental market itself and housing altogether. Mr. Malik, I saw your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to briefly speak in favor of the Right to Counsel program. This is something that, folks throughout the community have worked to build consensus around over the last few years. And especially as you pointed out with the Eviction Summit and the Eviction Task Force that's been working on this and learning from what's going on in Cleveland and from other communities as well. And I think, one of the important pieces of this is, I really appreciate the administration allocating this money, but, we're going to have to figure out, what's the sustainability and beyond, 1 or 2 years, how do we build those lasting partnerships, whether it's with the law school or public defender's office or legal aid or whomever. But in Cuyahoga County, this has saved, millions of dollars in social service costs by helping people stay on their feet and stay in their homes. And it's also just the right thing to do, right? Someone shouldn't have to go into a court and have to defend whether they stay in their home, without legal training. So I'm really excited that we're doing this. I did have one question, Ms. Tomek, on the budget there. It seems like there's a line item for the city for like something like $300,000.
That is correct, yes.
What would that pertain to?
So that would cover staff time over the next 7 years. There's going to be significant reporting to HUD and monitoring these contracts and going out and making sure that funds are spent correctly. So we are allowed like 20%, but we took a much smaller cut to pay for our staff time, like I said, through 2030.
Okay, thank you. And then a last question. There is significant line item here for affordable rental housing. Mm-hmm. Is it envisioned that this will support existing projects that we've talked about or future projects? Is it kind of unclear at this time?
It could be both. We'll be issuing a request for proposals, and like I said, we have 7 years to spend these funds. What we're thinking about, if larger projects come to fruition and there's a gap financing, because $3.5 million is really not a lot of money, but if developers come with a package and they are showing us they have a gap, $500,000, $600,000, then the vision is we would utilize these funds to create larger projects, but then also we're looking at perhaps the development of quads or triplexes in certain neighborhoods for the development of affordable rental housing. So it'll be an RFP process and we'll see what we get.
Great. Well, I appreciate your thoughtfulness and your diligence, Ms. Tomek.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Oh, Ms. Amobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand from previous conversations that the county has spent $65 million on the problem that we're facing with evictions, and that we have worked through the United Way, and I'm not sure if the county is doing the same thing. Could someone provide for us a report as to how many Akron residents have benefited from these programs? Because I know the county is considering the entire county and maybe the United Way too. So it'd be nice if someone could pull together the information or tell me who to go to get information about what has happened to the Akron residents.
Yes,
Councilwoman, any public records for the county you can direct to Greta Johnson, the communications director.
Yeah, but do you have any information from them as to what they've done for Akron residents? I mean, if you have a report, I would love to just see that.
I do not.
Does anybody have a report as to what they're doing for Akron residents? Because everybody keeps talking about what they're doing, and it seems to me that you would want to know as well. Does anybody know?
Okay. Sounds like it's available via a request from the county. So, any further questions or comments?
Well, I hear what you're saying, but it seems to me if we're going to reference that the county is doing something for our citizens, and we're not doing whatever it is that we were proposing, then it seems to me that somebody should have that information. But I will talk with Greta Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Questions or comments? I'm sorry? Oh, well, yeah, by all means. Yeah, the public hearing's closed, but recognizing we've... If you could please provide for us, I'm sorry, your name and...
Perry Clark, I'm
Yes.
employed by Truly Reaching You. And my question to Helen, she said affordable housing. And I asked the question, what is the city considering affordable housing? And the reason I asked that question, we currently provide housing to many and as I stand here, there's 23 beds, and we're full to capacity. If we had not do the work that we do, them 23 males would be homeless. Okay? 11 of them 23 men is currently working, and we continue to house them as they save money to save enough money to be able to move out on their own. We've been doing this in Akron, providing houses for 20+ years. And I want to know, what is y'all considering affordable housing? Because I know in my heart, that's affordable housing what we're doing. Because they wouldn't have a place to go. They would be homeless. So we take these homes, and if it's 3-bedroom, 3 men live there. If it's a 5-bedroom home, 5 men live there. So as I ask that question, what is y'all considering affordable homes? I'm also going to share with you. I think it's time for y'all to help us with the housing piece of these men not being homeless, who coming back to our community, who we are helping to keep from committing crimes on the violent side.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Thank you. Ms. Tomic, did you have any comment? Or?
I would just comment, we would be going off of HUD's definition. So as a person is looking for housing, no more than 30% of their income should be going to pay rent. The rest of it would then either be subsidized or the rents would decrease to be that amount.
And at this point, we're talking about, we have X amount of years to prepare the overall plan and implement. Is that correct?
We have 7
years. Yeah,
to spend these funds.
Exactly
Correct.
right. So I think conversations are going to be had in reference to that. And I think Mr. Clark ought to be part of those discussions without question, with all the good work he's done. And so perhaps we should talk afterwards. But absolutely. And we have time to put this together, but we don't. You know, and it's just like this. Just like the rental assistance, we all knew that there's a problem out there. We know there is, but getting the money stacked together, figuring how it's going to be implemented, figuring how it's going to work, we know that again, the playing field is not level. It's not level. And whenever people that are incarcerated and they get back into the community, we know that they have an uphill climb as well. So we're going to need to work with Mr. Clark as well, but we have, again, time to do that. I'm happy, though, if we would like to take time on this particular item. As Helen Tomic had mentioned, we do have till March to do this, but I don't want to take too much time, obviously, because we want to get in line for the funds, of
That's
course.
correct.
So, but I would be happy to entertain a motion to refer this item.
Mr. Chair, there's
I'll make the motion. Oh, I see, Mr. Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the conversations that have been had. Appreciate Mr. Clark coming down to share, but to your comments and to others, my concern is if Mr. Clark had not came down to speak, we would have missed his population. And this goes back to us understanding when we say equitable investment, what metrics do we use to make sure that we include all of our population when looking at making decisions? I'm saying this, we have to have something in place so that we're not missing important segments of our community, because this may not be these dollars may not be directly connected to ARPA dollars, but we know that ARPA dollars came to our community because of the poverty and housing instability. So again, I appreciate what I've heard, but it's just another indication that if we don't have the metrics in place that are going to guide us to make sure that we include and look at all segments of our population so we don't miss anyone, we will miss them because we have blind spots.
Okay.
And so I appreciate what I've heard, but this is another urgent
Repeating yourself.
indication of us making sure that we put metrics in place to make sure that we don't miss folks.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Again, I'm going to ask for to refer this item. Is there a motion to refer? Is there a second?
Motion to refer.
Thank you. All those in favor of referring this item signify by saying aye. Aye. Although this is a public hearing, we don't need to do this till this evening, but I think we're all going to be on the same page at least this evening That was quite a discussion, very beneficial. Let's move on to the balance of the agenda, of which I'm going to request time, and we have one item that's up for a public, one new item, I think, and that's an ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a type A daycare home at 217 Thermont Road. That's up for a public hearing on February 13th. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against? Mr. Malik, why not?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, I want to make a note and ask everyone to take a look at that in advance of the conditional use hearing, because this is a daycare that, we've had a couple similarly with cul-de-sacs, but this is kind of a little bit different in the sense that it's a much larger cul-de-sac than the one we dealt with, I think, over in Ellett a few months ago. And I think the planning department is supportive. Some of the neighbors have come down and are supportive. I'm supportive of it. So I just want to make sure that folks aren't surprised when this comes in. So happy to talk about it with anyone in advance as well.
Cool, thank you. Anything else coming for the committee? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thanks.
Our next committee of the day will be the Parks and Recreation Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Mosley, Malik, Neal, and Connor. We do have all committee members present. We'll give just a moment here before we get started. Thanks.
We'll be over here in this room for. Okay, again, our next committee of the day is the Parks and Recreation Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Mosley, Malik, Neal, and Connor. We do have all members present except for, here's Councilman Neal as well. So we have all council members, or all committee members present. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to call the Parks and Rec Committee together for a meeting this afternoon. And first, we'd like the approval of minutes from the last meeting.
So moved. Second.
Here a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, minutes passed. Okay, this afternoon we have an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Tom Todd Ideas Incorporated for a partnership with the city of Akron in the Creative Akron Summer Program for 2023 and declaring an emergency. This afternoon, I see Ms. Katie Breck is here to speak on that.
Good afternoon,
Thank you.
Chairman and members of the committee. You can't hear me? Whoops. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. On behalf of our Recreation and Parks Division and OID, I would like to ask for your support of this legislation to or his designee to enter into a contract with Tom Todd Ideas, Inc. for a partnership with the City of Akron in the Creative Akron Summer Program 2023, also known as Camp What If. This is the third year the city, Tom Todd Ideas, and the Akron Public Schools presented this 3-week summer camp And typically, we host about 90 APS middle schoolers ages 10 to 14 years of age. This youth empowerment initiative helps our middle school students core soft skills, explore civic structures, and create opportunity for community impact. This investment gives campers the opportunity to explore challenges of our community, train campers in critical and creative thinking, idea development, arts involvement, and civic engagement, while developing vital social and emotional competencies. Camps involve immersive field trips around the city, participatory learning sessions, and brainstorming. At the end of the camp, campers design and pitch their collaborative solutions to the community. The camp goes through July 28th, and the total of 3-week camp is $58,000 for staff and supplies, transportation, and meals. Consideration, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Well, thank you. One of my first questions would be, how do the kids sign up for this program?
I believe the public schools assist Tom Todd Ideas in registering the students, but that's a great question, and I'd be happy to find the exact process for you.
Okay, because it's
You
for
could help
the
to get
kids
the word
aged
out.
10 through 14, so I just assume all
Yes,
the
I think it's through the
public
middle
schools in grade, I don't know, 4th through 8th?
I think it's, yes.
Information. Okay.
And then also they work with the Summit Education Initiative to track the students' progress, which I thought was really cool, just making sure that, you know, these students are present and that they're increasing their educational attainment when they return to school in the fall, which I think is a really neat collaboration.
Okay. Is there any other questions from committee members? Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you. Katie, a question about location. Where are the camps located in the summertime?
So this particular summer camp is located at Summit Lake, but they go on immersive field trips. So I know on one of the days this past summer, they started their day at Summit Lake and then headed over to Bounce Innovation Hub. And so what's neat about this particular camp is that the students, they start at Summit Lake, but then they are transported through to different organizations in the community. I know they typically come to City Hall, and you all have been very gracious with your time in speaking with them, but they usually come on Wednesday of that week and listen to different members of cabinet and members of council on the issues that are going on in the city, and then come up with solutions to some things that they hear.
So how long has this program been in place?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
How many years? You say
3 years.
3 years? So
3
every year
years,
it's been
yes.
so every year's been housed at Summit Lake?
I'm sorry, yes,
So-
it's always been at Summit Lake. Mm-hmm.
So who's running it, Reach?
It's not at Reach, although they do visit Reach, but it's run through Tom Todd Ideas, and so they bring in the personnel, they have all the counselors and the guides, and then they just operate out of Summit Lake and then transport the students throughout the city to different places.
So what if it's a kid in West Akron and they don't have transportation? How are those kids getting there? If they apply for the program for the summer, what are we doing about transportation?
That's a great question. I'm not sure how the students arrive at the community center. I just know that the camp is able to transport with their vehicles to the different locations and sites. But that's a great question.
Yeah,
that I'll find the answer to.
If we could find out the answer to that question,
Sure.
A couple more within that. I want to know the diverse makeup and making sure that we're reaching out to all the kids across the community, and then thinking about maybe sometimes being at other community centers across the city. Because again, if you have kids who go to school out in West Akron, how are they getting there? How we got kids over in East Akron, over in like the David Hill footprint. If they want to be a part of this program and don't have transportation, how would they be a part? I would hate for such a great program to always just cater to one side of town, and you have all these other kids that want to be a part of the program. So if we
That's
could
a
check
great
into
point.
that, okay? All right.
Yes, I will find out.
Okay.
Is there any other questions from committee members? I see Councilwoman Sharon Connor Go ahead.
Good morning, Brittany. When this was originally proposed to council 4 years ago, it was proposed with the idea that it was going to be a pilot at Summit Lake and then move to other parks within the area. I have been lucky enough to visit all 3 years they've been. It is a great program, but it's still only serving specific kids that can get there. Their vans that they use to transport do not transport to and from, it only transports to activities. We really need to look at broadening this, providing transportation, maybe work with APS, and so many kids from each cluster get to take advantage of it. Because right now, we're missing a huge portion of kids, and those middle school kids need something to do, at least for 3 weeks where they're learning and engaged. And to service just people who can provide transportation is not a fair representation.
Absolutely, and your comments are well taken, and I will round up with Tom Todd ideas, and I was not aware that this was a pilot that was only supposed to take place at Summit Lake 1 year and then move throughout. So we will work to address that or request the sponsor to come up with a game plan to get more students in the door from other areas of our city. So thank you. Thank you both.
Councilman Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to pile on, but I was going to make a similar point to Ms. Connor and Ms. Mosley. And, you know, I think that this it's a really cool program. It's been great to talk with some of the students and really, you know, see as they propose solutions to some of the problems, as you mentioned. You know, it's January. I wonder whether it would be possible to try to do 2 locations this year or something similar to that, you know, somewhere on the east side and somewhere on the west side. But just an idea. But definitely I think that, you know, we all know that we all have these conversations that we don't have enough extracurricular and outside of school time opportunities for young people, particularly middle school students. So if there's the opportunity to expand on this, I think, you know, whether it's this year or next year, I think, you know, there is a lot of urgency around that. But thank you.
There's definitely enough time, I think, because we're talking 6 months from now. So I think, you know, it is worth it to go back and ask the organizers to come up with a strategy to broaden the population of the camp. So thank you so much for that feedback.
Yeah, and thank you for work on this.
Yeah, I was just going to make another comment. Maybe it's possible for this organization to partner with Metro Bus, you know, to get the kids there.
That's a great point, too.
Yeah. So is there any other questions from other council members? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll take a motion for time.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
All right, motion for time?
Yep.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion for time. Thank you so much, Katie. And with no other business coming before us, this meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have your hand up?
I'm sorry, I couldn't find the button.
Oh, okay.
I just want to ask, so there will be an official part of the Park and Rec Committee's minutes that we put on the information that was brought before committee as a whole. The information I brought concerning the Copy Road soccer fields and the question about made to a private institution, a private organization does not have a contract with the city. We have no records, financial records of how much they get. The information I provided, you know, there was documentation of a nonprofit group from our community being charged $3,000 for those fields. And so, you know, we need to have record of that. We need to find out why we're still continuing allowing that organization to manage those fields when there's no contract within the law department. So I just want that to be a part of our official record so we can put it on the Park and Rec agenda to address that issue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Neal. We'll note that, and in the future, we'll put that on the agenda. Is there any other business coming before council? Now a motion for adjournment. Second? Anybody second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are Mosley, Lombardo, Malik, and McKittrick. We'll give everyone just a moment here. Thank you. Okay, we do have all committee members present. When ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, I'd like to call the public meeting to order, please. All members are present. We do have minute meetings to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We have 3 new pieces in front of us today. Our first one is offered by Hamer, and Councilwoman Mosley has added her name. It's authorizing the mayor or his designee without formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Akron Enterprises to install dashboard cameras in frontline cruisers and declare an emergency. And I see we have our Deputy Mayor of Public Safety Tucker with us and Captain McCosey.
Good afternoon. This is something that I'm going to defer to Captain McCosey so that he can give us some detailed information.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee. We are asking for your approval to enter into a contract with Axon. This is a 5-year contract to provide dash cameras for our cruisers. In all, and we've discussed this several times, this will put a dash cam in all our frontline district cars, the primary district cars. The total of the contract is $334,680, and that's over a 5-year period. And we would begin this here in 2023. The first 2 years are going to be funded through a grant from the Ohio OCJS Law Enforcement Violence Reduction Grant. The following 3 years, or the last 3 years of the contract, we will shoulder through issue 4. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Captain. I appreciate that. Committee members, I see Councilman Malik, his hand is raised first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So when we say frontline cruisers, how many patrol cars?
There are 24 frontline patrol cars that patrol the city, 2 in each district. And then we have 2 wagons. We're going to put these in the wagons as well, which are our prisoner transport wagons. And those each will have 3 cameras each, or 1 per compartment. Depends on the compartment configuration that we have on that wagon, but every compartment will have a camera in it.
Okay. And how many patrol cars that are currently out there on a weekly basis will not be covered?
That's hard to say. Right now, we have just enough personnel to barely put out 1 car per district for each shift. And so there are 12 patrol cars for each shift, and then 2 shifts on the street at a time. So all of those frontline cars, barring damage or having been crashed and we're awaiting repair, will have the camera systems installed in them. There are A cars out there. Usually those are used for extra jobs right now, and the exact number of that I would have to get you because I don't have that readily available in front of me. That changes just a little bit from time to time.
If you could, that'd be helpful.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments, committee members? Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you. Just want to thank Captain McCosey for all your work on this. I appreciate all that you've done on this piece of legislation. One question is time frame. What time frame are we talking about here?
Sure. Our intention with Axon is to begin the rollout of these in June of this year. That's barring any problems with supply chains. But they have shared with us that's the quickest that we could probably start installing these in the cars. We do have 2 cars out on the street now that are outfitted with the systems, and we're in the process of evaluating those systems and how we make those things work so that the data is moving and there's good connections with the IT side of things.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anything else from committee members? Councilman Malik.
Just, we had a presentation for arranging that. That was really informative. So we'll basically when in some kind of interaction with a resident or citizen is initiated, that will automatically cause the cameras to begin, or how will that process work?
So there are quite a few triggers on it, and that is one of the things that we're trying to work our way through now as well. When the officers turn the lights on the car, that turns on the cameras. There's also an aspect of it through Bluetooth that it actually turns on all the cameras all around it at a certain range. And so if the officers are out on a call and that camera system's rolling and another car comes up, it will, as they come out and approach, it'll actually turn their body cameras on if they're not already on. So those are the main triggers. The specifics on it, though, we really haven't nailed that down yet, exactly all the timings of everything and all the switches.
Yep. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Councilwoman Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Captain Mikosi. I appreciate all the work that you and your colleagues have done in preparation for this moment. I'm interested in whether the budgeted number includes the expenses that we've discussed previously about data storage and management. Is that all rolled into this?
To the extent that we were talking about Axon fees and charges, yes. There are other expenses that are connected to this project that are a part of the grant that we talked about last week, and they are included in there. So between that grant really provides a lot of the funding for this overall program. This just covers the contract with us, the city, and Axon to install those camera systems in the cars for the number of cars that we talked about.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anything else from committee members, council members? Captain Mikosi, what's your pleasure?
We're okay with the consent on this one. We see no reason to be in a rush right at the moment.
Okay, I'll leave it up to the committee.
Motion for consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you, Captain. I appreciate all your hard work. All right, moving on to our second piece, offered by Mayor Horrigan. It's ordinance repealing Title III, Chapter 31, Article 3, Citizens Oversight of Police, including Sections 31.50, Definitions 31.51, Citizen Oversight Board 31.52, Powers and Duties of the Citizen Oversight Board, and 31.53, Office of the Inspector General of the Akron Codified Ordinances and Declare Emergency. And I do see we have Emily Collins and Staff Kurt Whelms and a member of our law department, Brian Angelino.
Thank you, counsel. I am going to punt to Attorney Angeloni.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So before you have two distinct but related pieces. The first is repealing essentially Ordinance 266-2022, which was passed back in September. This is pertaining to the Citizen Oversight Board that was initiated by the Mayor's Office. So basically what we're doing here is cleaning up modified ordinances, removing that so that there's not any competing with the new charter amendment board that's been established. In its place, or beginning in its place, you'll see that we're going to start filling in those gaps again using the same place code. But this pertains to basically some ambiguities in the charter amendment. We're basically filling in the gaps here. So what this is, there were discussion in the charter amendment about vacancies. Specifically, some board members were to serve 4-year terms, some were to serve 2-year terms. Figuring out what proportion those appointments would be by mayor versus council, that sort of thing. So that's what we have proposed in front of you. Simply an implementation piece that's contemplated also by the charter amendment, I believe, as well. So that is what this is. Happy to take any
questions, comments? Any other council members? All right, what are the wishes? Obviously, suspension of the rules.
Actually, it would be fine to put it on consent for next week. We'll also be bringing in, next week, there will be 2 pieces that will be posing, hopefully, council's appointments to the board as well as the administration's, the mayor's appointees to the board. So we would be bringing those in next week.
I'll make a motion for
Do I have a motion for consent?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor for consent, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to the next piece. Ordinance amending in chapter 31 and enacting Article 3 access to social site, section 31.50, definitions and 1.1 citizens police oversight board term in order to orderly implement certain portions of the section 68A of the charter and declare an emergency. Who would like to speak on this one? Brian?
Sure, yeah, I'll go ahead. Thank you, Chairman. So, yeah, again, this is just reiterating what we just spoke about. This is basically filling in those gaps, talking about the vacancies, how they're filled, you know, who's going to serve a 2-year term versus 4. And I just point out to the committee that the way that this is structured, it follows the structure of the charter amendment in the sense that the mayor has 1/3 of the appointees to the board. So 1/3 of the 3 2-year term folks will be on the mayor's side, and then 2 of those 2-year terms will be on council's side. So it kind of mimics the 6 versus 3 appointees.
Thank you. Council members on the committee, any questions or comments? Any other council members?
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor for consent agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. That's it. We have 3 consent agenda items to present this evening. We're adjourned.
Our next committee of the day will be the Health and Social Services Committee. It will begin at 2:30. Those committee members are Amobian, Freeman, Baylor, Neal, and Holland. Again, that's the Health and Social Services Committee, and it will begin at 2:30.